So, a lot of intelligent people will call up the installer, the solar panel company, and say, "Hey, you got this lien on my property. I'm trying to refinance. I don't want your panels anyway. You lied to me about them. Please come get your panels. You can have them, right?" To the response of the solar panel,
They don't want them, shockingly.
shockingly, they don't want them. They don't care. They've already been paid. The financing company, and even if they were to be taken off your roof, you also have some other problems with damaging your roof and now causing the roof to leak. But that's not the topic of this show. It's a problem. They don't attach to the homestead. To make the title company happy, we likely have to sue the finance company who's the owner of this UCC one lane. Welcome to episode 108 of the Weekly Docket, a podcast by the Silverman Law Firm, where we talk legal news and practical law. Today is February 6th, 2026. I'm Phil Silverman, owner of the firm and your host, and I'm joined by Chris Heald, who's the firm's managing attorney. Chris, who do you have this weekend? You got the Pats or the Seahawks?
Undecided. I probably have a lot of exotic plays, so I'm not like a normal person that just picks a team, as you know.
Okay, and Chris is not doing anything nefarious with exotic plays. That refers to different kinds of bets on the game about whether the coin toss is going to be heads or tails or whatever, and things like that, right? So,
and only legal in my house with my friends, nothing outside of the law.
No, we are inside the law very much on the show. All right, let's talk about what is on our docket today. We're going to knock out some legal questions. All right, we're going to talk about will contests a little bit, and we're going to talk about solar liens for solar panels on houses. We'll talk about some contract for deeds. We've got somebody asking us about buying it off the guy without a formal written contract, buying it off the guy. So suing HOAs, always a favorite topic. Everybody loves suing HOAs. That's a crowd pleaser.
They think they do.
And then converting apartment complexes to condominiums. And then we'll finish up with a lively rant in our rant and rave section about why.
I'm sorry, did someone use converting something to a condominium and turn it into a verb? I swear they did.
Maybe I did. I don't know.
No, someone said condominiumize. I did not know that was a verb.
No, we make up lots of words as well on the Weekly Docket. So, and then we're going to.
I saw it in an email. I swear, I saw it.
Yeah, probably. And we're in our rant and rave section. We're going to talk about how much I hate Thomson Reuters, operator of Westlaw, and why I'm
firing shots. You got to be careful.
Why? Why do I? They're going to blackball me from using Thomson.
Hey,
they're going to blackball me.
You never know. You never know.
I'm willing to take that risk. Anthropic released a new AI plugin and it tanked their stock. So I'm happy about that. So we'll talk about that in a rant rave section. All right, let's get it kicked off with legal questions. Chris, I'm just going to fire at you and you do what you can, and I'll see if I can clean it up. All right. This person is seeking legal assistance to contest a will regarding her father's land in Travis County, Texas. She alleges that her mother, from whom her father was divorced, I don't know whether that's her biological mother or maybe just a stepmother, I don't know, had produced a forged signed will despite her father having passed away in 2014 with no prior action taken. And she's emphasizing the urgency of the matter, stating she only has a couple days before potentially losing her land valued at $500,000. Chris, that's the fact pattern. What are you pulling out of that?
When has the will been probated?
No, she's just right now, stepmom, presumably, has just produced the alleged forged will many years after dad died in 2014.
How is the loss imminent? Are we at a court hearing? Are we is she filing an eviction because she's already been appointed?
Who knows, right? Clients kind of create things in their mind. The idea of, okay, I produced a will all these years later, obviously, who first we're calling mom is in default. Tell the listeners about what mom has to do to
Yeah.
overcome that
If
process.
we're presuming, yeah, if we're, I guess, yeah, we'll take it from the beginning. I'm not trying to get buried in the weeds. If we're presuming it has not been admitted to probate at this point, and she's filing an application or threatening to file an application and says, I found your dad's will, here it is. Then yeah, if you are after 4 years and you are submitting a will to probate, you must prove, it is your burden to show that you are not in default for failing to bring that will prior to the 4-year period. Usually the way you get around that is, oh, my mom said she probated the will, then mom died, and I found out mom never probated dad's will. Or I guess you could say, I had no idea he had a will. I was just going through some papers and I found it. I don't know that that gets you there. One, it's not very believable. Two, you're kind of charged with this duty of going through your spouse's papers after they die, and to say, oh, I found it in his study 12 years later. Why didn't you find it before? So it's either going to go to the issue of not being in default or just lacking credibility to the will itself.
Let's not miss the divorce issue, right? I mean, if this mom or stepmom is producing a will, and you can assume that that benefits mom or stepmom, and she says, well, the potential client says, well, they were divorced. Well, if they were divorced and the will obviously predates the divorce, then that by law in Texas, then the mom producing this will who all of a sudden wants to probate it may not know this. The law automatically strikes mom as a beneficiary, correct?
Yeah, unless he re-executes or republishes the will after the date of the divorce.
Yeah. And the theory being, people get divorced, they left their spouse on the will. The law presumes that people just forget to take them off, right? And that's that.
Yeah. We've run into that plenty of times. And, we ran into a case where the same is also true of beneficiary designations. And, so if you are the beneficiary and you go withdraw the money and buy a new Tahoe with the money, be assured that just because the bank said, well, you're the beneficiary, doesn't mean that the kids aren't going to come back and say, that beneficiary designation is void. You're the ex-wife. You shouldn't have gone and bought the new Tahoe. We're going to come try to get that money back.
Yeah, and because this will has been over 4 years and it's in default, if this person we're calling mom tries to probate it, the heirs at law are going to get notice. And when the heirs at law get that notice, they're going to have to object if they want to object, right? And that's their opportunity to come forward and say, hey, that will, was either bogus, it was forged, and by the way, she's in default anyway, it shouldn't be probated. She had every opportunity to probate that will many years ago. So
the applicant's in a very tough spot because you have to walk a very thin line of proving, well, I'm not in default because I either didn't know about it or I thought somebody else probated it. But then you're going to have to prove up the facts of the will that's now 14 years old. You're going to have to say, oh, I knew he went to this lawyer and I knew he had it prepared. It's not fake. It's not a forgery. That's going to be a very hard line for her to stay on.
All right. Next question. All right, here we go. This PNC seeking legal assistance regarding solar liens and loans. He's provided his contact information and is looking to speak with someone in the firm about these specific solar panel financing issues. That's basically a lien that's been filed with the Secretary of State on the solar panels, and he's not able to refinance his property. All right. This one is probably more in my wheelhouse, but we're going to give you a shot anyway. Any thoughts on it?
I forwarded to a certain law firm in Austin.
Well, you can, but we have to deal with it. It came to us. The people want to know. That's an inside joke, by the way, but we're not going to edit it out because people know that joke and how ridiculous that idea is to service all these solar panel clients. But nonetheless, we have to deal with it. It's here on the show. We're doing it.
All right. I tried to punt. I'm still punting.
Okay, fine. I'll take it. Look, here's what's going on all over the state and probably the country, but right now I just care about Texas. People are getting solar panels installed on their roofs, and it's supposed to be the greatest thing since sliced bread. It's not really that great. And their finance companies out there lend them the money to pay the installer, pay for the panels to be put on. And what these finance companies do is they're filing a lien with the Secretary of State. It's called a UCC1 financing statement. You might, call that a fixture filing as well, but it's a lien against the personal property. And then what's happening? These people are going to refinance. They're going to refinance, or they're going to sell, and the title company finds it. And a lot of title companies are unhappy about that, so they're having some title issues with it, right? But here's the reality, Chris. The UCC1 fixture filing does not actually, because almost all of these are homestead properties, because these are where people live. The fixture filing does not actually attach to the land or the actual homestead property. It's just attaching to the personal property of the panels, the solar panels themselves that are actually on the roof. So, a lot of intelligent people will call up the installer, the solar panel company, and say, hey, you got this lien on my property I'm trying to refinance. I don't want your panels anyway. You lied to me about them. Please come get your panels. You can have them, right? To the response of the solar panel,
They don't want them, shockingly.
Shockingly, they don't want them. They don't care. They've already been paid. The financing company. And even if they were to be taken off your roof, you also have some other problems with damaging your roof and now causing the roof to leak, but that's not the topic of this show. It's a problem. They don't attach to the homestead. To make the title company happy, we likely have to sue the finance company who's the owner of this UCC1 lane, have a court order that it doesn't attach to the real property, just to make the title company happy, and then get the house refinanced or get the house sold if the title company has a problem with it. If you're not trying to refinance, or if you're not trying to sell your house, probably doesn't matter if you're going to die in the house, right? I mean, if you're going to live there forever, your heirs may have to deal with it at some point, but it's not like they can sell your house because they have a fixture filing or UCC1 of the Secretary of State. All right.
They can theoretically foreclose and take your panels, but they don't.
Yeah, come get the panels, please. And by the way, don't damage my roof. If you damage my roof while you're taking the panels off, I'll sue you for that. But so no, nobody wants those panels. There's thousands of them coming in from China. I think they are. I don't know how the new tariffs are working right now, but I think they still come from China. I don't know.
Yeah. If you haven't bought them, don't buy them.
Don't do it.
If you've escaped this long, don't get swindled now.
All right, we crushed that one. Let's move on. Next question. Jones calling on behalf of, I changed the names. Okay. But anyway, I changed the names. Even if I didn't, there's probably enough Jones out there. But Jones calling on behalf of her father. I didn't do a good job changing the name. I assume Jones a woman. Right? Calling on behalf of her father regarding a property in a small town in Texas, explains that his father was buying it off the guy without a formal contract. He's been making payments via checks, explicitly labeled house payment. He notes that they weren't renting it. I wasn't renting it. I was sending in the check. Dad was sending in the checks, house payment. I've got nothing in writing. I want to own the house. You sold it to me. There's nothing in writing. What do you say, Chris?
No emails, no texts.
I mean, there's probably some texts and emails out there, that might, they're never great evidence for us. We seem to never get the best evidence, but yeah, you can.
Well, I like if there's something that tends towards showing they're planning on owning it, if there's something tending toward showing that they're making long-term repairs, if there was a down payment, I would like that. I like down payments. Otherwise, maybe we just have a toss-up case and we go argue our side and they argue their side, and may the best man win.
Yeah.
I'm not worried about statute of frauds. If you want me to talk about that, a lot of people think you can just statute of frauds. You don't have a writing, I win. And it's certainly not that easy, not by law.
Yeah. And what Chris is referencing is there's something out there called the statute of frauds. It's not a statute. It's not the Statute of Liberty. It's a statute like a law, and it's meant to encourage people to write things down. If you don't write them down and have writings, there are some types of contracts that are ineffective. Real estate is one of them, except there's an exception to the statute of frauds for real estate, which is when performance has been made. Chris has very, very astutely caught on to this fact pattern that there's clearly been performance. The writing of the check that says house payment on it is going to overcome the statute of frauds. So, we can have it out. We can represent this client and say, hey, we had this house under a contract for deed. We've got enough evidence to support that it was a contract for sale. And please deed me over the house, or please do a proper owner finance. There's all these penalties in the property code for sellers that do contracts for deeds, otherwise known as executory contracts. And we're going to sue you for everything under the code. And we're going to take your money and your firstborn child if you don't sign the deed over or enter into a real owner finance contract with my client. That's how we approach those, Chris. That's the way we roll. So
hopefully there's something somewhere indicating a purchase price. If they're just paying $1,500 a month, that gets dicey. Like, how long are you going to pay? How much were you going to pay?
Yeah, and the other side's going to argue that it was rent. I don't care. He wrote house payment on it. That just means, rent. He was paying me rent every month, right? So, all right. Next question. This PNC, potential new client, is calling regarding a property located somewhere in Texas, seeking legal assistance to take the association to court, take the HOA to court, because they've been charging him an extra charge and a lot of fees. He believes they aren't legal. Chris, they've been charging him $59.75 every month because he left his trash can out an extra day on Tuesday. And he's had enough of it. He's had enough of it, Chris. What do you think?
I think you pay it and you move on. And I hate to say that because everybody says, oh, you don't want the fight. Oh, you let them win.
Mm-hmm.
You're going to pay $10,000 to sue them and still owe them some fines and have all the headache.
Yeah.
It sucks. I empathize. It sucks. Yeah.
But it's like arguing with your wife, right? Even if you're right, you're never going to win. So just pay the HOA. They've got probably more resources, probably more money. They have a lot of attorneys at lower hourly rates that do nothing but bilk people to death and charge legal fees, and they're going to keep going, and they're going to try to foreclose on this stuff. HOAs have way too much power. I generally loathe them. I'm not a fan of HOAs, but we do represent some, not many, but we represent some. Hey, if they pay us, Chris, I like the ones that pay me.
We don't do that kind of stuff usually.
No.
Usually an HOA is like running into a problem, right, and it's actually a novel real estate issue. They're not calling us to do this stuff because if you do this, you represent 100 HOAs in the city of Houston,
right? And
you just run them through. And it is unfortunate. I mean, we've seen some egregious stuff. They charge you late fees, and then you're saying, hey, I wasn't late, or you're disputing this $60 charge and you don't pay it. And so now they're saying you're late because then when you pay the next round of dues, they charge it against this fee. And now you have dues that have not been covered. And so now they're charging you late fees on that and interest on that. And then they lock you out of the online portal, so you can't pay anymore. So you try to settle it up and you can't. And then they sue you. It's bad, as you already explained. It's bad.
Okay. That we got that one. I mean, we can sue them, but it's not going to go well. You just got to pay it. Final question for the day before we end on our rant and rave section, where I just lambast Thomson Reuters. James Billings of Billings Investment is seeking legal expertise to acquire a 91-unit apartment complex and convert it into separate owner-occupied condominiums. He is investigating the conversion process, and he's guidance on local code requirements, separate utilities, and preparations of CC&Rs. Okay. That's conditions, covenants, and restrictions, and HOA documents. Additionally, he is interested in consulting on physical work standards required by local planning authorities to successfully subdivide the property. Wow. Chris, you're going to do this. You're a miracle man. You do all this for this client, right? This is what you do.
Not, I am not going to do any of those things.
I don't know about it.
Maybe some
of them.
Regularly not it. Yeah, some of them. We can help through a condominium regime. We can certainly help with some of that stuff.
Yeah.
I don't know about local labor standards though. That might be out of my wheelhouse.
Let me kind of back up and talk about the business model. This is not an unusual business model. You go find an apartment complex, you buy it, and then you sell them off as individual units. So if you buy the whole apartment complex for $10 million and you sell each unit, and it's a 100-unit complex, right? And you sell each unit for $200,000, right? You've, made a profit. Okay. So that's just how you buy it for $100,000 a door. You sell for $200,000 a door as condominiums, you made a profit. It is not that easy. Okay. And I'm not a construction guy, but apartment construction is a little bit different than condominium construction, but the law does not care about that so much. Okay. But let's assume that the construction makes sense. The business project makes sense. How do we do it? One by one, local code requirements. Okay. Yes, you're generally going to have to replat the thing, because if an multifamily apartment complex sits on a piece of real estate, it's probably one legal description. And in many cities, it's going to be zoned for multifamily. So you're going to have to do some type of replat where a surveyor comes out and gives legal descriptions to every unit. And you're going to have to get a dedicatory instrument. And that's the, CC and Rs. You're going to have to get that on record. And this is a big process. And normally it's the survey company that comes out and does the heavy lifting on the replat with the city. We sort of will coordinate, quarterback the whole situation, put it all together. And then, but that survey company is going to do the heavy lifting. We will draft condominium dedicatory instruments. We will do the CC&Rs. We will form an HOA, which is typically a not-for-profit corporation in Texas with board members. We'll do bylaws. We will get it to the end. But boy, this is a big project. And you can expect, I don't know, 100-unit complex. We tend to be pretty affordable, just shooting from the hip, $20,000, $30,000 in legal fees. And then you might ask, the surveyor may be $10,000, $15,000 or something like this. This is not an inexpensive project. And the utilities are a conundrum too, because that thing is metered, for one water unit going into that property. Now that can get above my pay grade, but you're going to have to figure out how to break out water meters, or some condominiums, don't have individually metered water, so you can include the water in in one like HOA bill, right, so to speak. Sometimes you see that. That's another way to attack that. Those are typically older condominiums, but and the law may have changed in that regard. And then you're going to have electrical, individually electrical meters most likely, because you're not going to be. I have seen some old condominiums that with the HOA fee included kind of the electric, everything, right? But that's not. I'm not even sure it's legal under a lot of the new laws, and that's a nightmare. So you're going to have to get a lot of this stuff individually metered. So that was a doozy. Big project, could be a good idea, could be worth it. But sometimes the people calling us don't fully, understand the scope of what they're trying to do. So, okay.
If it were easy, everyone would do it.
That's right. Tell me about it, like running a law firm or something like that. But yeah. All right, that brings us to my favorite part of the show, our rant and rave section. This have you followed any of the headlines in the markets this week, Chris? The stock market and kind of technology, anything? No. You've just been plowing away on probates and litigation files.
Yeah. So you want to see what I've been up to this week?
Okay, so the big news was Anthropic. Okay, have you heard of Anthropic? They're known for Claude. And Claude,
I've heard.
okay, Claude is their AI. It's good. I've used it a couple times. We've leaned into Gemini a bit since we're fully integrated with Google. But Claude has this thing called Cowork, and it just dropped an AI plugin saying it can automate a lot of legal work, like contract reviews, briefs, things like that. I have not tested it out yet. But on that news, I mean, there was just a huge rat of software stock prices, like I think SalesMate and just kind of across different types of software on the theory that man, AI is going to replace software coding and they're going to allow small businesses to do their own programming and their own software, and they're not going to need a lot of big platforms that are kind of out of the box solutions, right? So, yeah. And one of the stocks that just got, a couple of stocks that got pummeled down by 10%, Thomson Reuters, who we use, we pay a lot of money to every month, called Westlaw. LegalZoom got pummeled. A couple other ones, about 10% loss of your total stock price is a pretty big deal. Last I checked, it was still down. So let's start, Chris. What do you think? I'm not using it, haven't used it yet. Are you optimistic that Claude's Cowork, legal automation plugin is going to be better than ChatGPT and Gemini, what we're already using, or you think?
I mean, it might be, especially if that's their literal focus is on the legal side of it.
Yeah.
But maybe I'm a little biased, but you're never going to replace real lawyers. So I don't know. It's another thing that people want to use, and I get it. People want to do their own work. If I could do my own plumbing work, I would. If I could do my own electrical, I would. But I can only do one thing, and that's practice law. So when I need a plumber, I call a plumber. When I need an electrician, I call an electrician.
Yeah.
I don't mess with that stuff.
Yeah. And maybe on this, I'm getting ready to test it today, this afternoon. It's on my to-do list, Chris, and we'll probably bring it into the repertoire. There's a lot of things on the back end, I think that I do at the firm where I'm blending some of these AI chatbots and LLMs and platforms together to kind of get us one result. So I'll take a look at it today, but I was very happy because part of the rant in this is Thomson Reuters, Westlaw. They're just a dirty company. And this is all my opinions based on having dealt with them for however many years. I can't remember, years and years. And I'm going to tell you, I'm just going to take them to the mat on this. And one of the dirtiest things they've done to us that I finally solved a couple of years ago or several years ago is it's almost impossible to shut off their out of plan pricing. Do you know, having practiced law a little while for different firms, Chris, you know how you're using Westlaw and you can like click on something and you go outside of your plan and this little screen pops up and it'll be like, this is $50 or $100, right?
Well, it doesn't even say that. That's the thing. We have had, we've been in business, 13 years now? We have had, every so often when you have a new employee, they come on and most of us run away from that like it says, the devil is after you. And you say, oh, run away, run away, run away. Some people don't have that reaction, which is surprising to me. And they say, well, I want to pull this case. I'll never forget the funniest one to me, not so funny, was, well, I wanted the case from the Southwest Reporter. I wanted the dual column from the pages in the book because I thought that was the best way to present it to the court. Mm-hmm. So his explanation was, how much could it be? Like you just said, $50, $100. So I clicked, sure, I want the authentic copy out of the reporter for the case so I can hand it to the judge. And it was like $300, $400, $500 or something like that for one flipping case. So yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah, and they're, I'm a free market guy. They're entitled to charge whatever they want. But the reason it's dirty is because they know that the employees of the firm don't really care that much about the cost. So they're just flipping through doing some research, and they'll get something. And they're like, oh yeah, I'll click the button, and the law firm then has this huge bill. So very
They think, oh, I really need it. It's worth it. It's worth it because I need to provide this service to the client. And it doesn't say how much it is. It doesn't say your account will be charged. It just says this is out of plan. Continue or go back.
That was terrible. It was such a big deal at our firm, Chris. You may have forgotten this. Like, and I tried every month. I would get these charges, and I would send out emails. I'd be like, "You have to stop doing this. Do not buy anything through Westlaw unless you have firm permission." And I would call my Westlaw reps, and I'd be like, "Is there a way to turn this off?" And they would be like, "No, I don't think we have that ability. I don't know. I've never heard it." And I'd ask, and to the point where I was like, "This is absolutely killing our firm." And we were smaller back then. So it was like, we cannot afford to pay thousands of dollars in extra charges a month because yes, I know that it's my people's fault, but I can't control these people, and I can't afford to pay thousands of dollars a month. I have to cancel, right? I mean, I was on the phone, and finally, after they were able to turn it off, and I think, it's still off, thankfully, where it's just now it says it's out of your plan. It doesn't even give you the option to purchase it. I remember I had, and your Westlaw reps kind of change and cycle through. And I remember was talking on the phone with one rep, and we happened to mention it. He was like, I didn't even know this was possible. I've never seen anybody that's had this before. Like, what did you do to get this? And they would play it, and the reps would like play it off, like, oh, I don't know if that many people really asked for that. And I'm like, it's just dirty pool. So here's the other thing they do that's real dirty, Chris. When the renewal, so you're in this like 3-year Westlaw contract or 2-year Westlaw contract, whatever it is. And it's an evergreen contract, which means you have to renew, it will automatically renew for like another year or something. If you don't give notice with over, more than 30-day notice from when the evergreen will just auto renew. Well, the Westlaw rep's job is to kind of call you up close to renewal time and start talking to you about renewing for like another 3 years and what amazing products that you can buy. And by the way, there's always more products. It doesn't matter what you think you have. It doesn't matter. It's like, I've got Westlaw Classic, and it's all these cutesy little weird names that don't make any sense. Like Westlaw Classic, Westlaw Next, Co-Counsel, whatever it is. Do you have Company Investigator? Do you have, and it's like, whatever they're branding it as. And I'm like, what is, this is what I need to do. Do you have a price for everything? And I guess maybe in theory they do, but I can figure it out. To this day, I look at the Westlaw bill and I'm like, what is this? So anyway, that's a whole nother rant in itself. But so Chris, you get to the end and your renewal's kind of coming up. Can you imagine when the Westlaw rep wants to start following up with you about the renewal? Do you think it'd be before, when you still have time to opt out for the next auto renewal, or do you think it might be like several days after your time to opt out for the year has already passed? When do you think the Westlaw rep is going to call you?
The second one.
When, because most people that run law firms and own law firms are busy and they haven't calendared their renewal date. So, they've got 30 days or whatever, they're 60 days, whatever it is, to opt out. And the Westlaw rep, without fail, is going to probably, I say without fail, almost certainly. Okay. I'm not going to say it's that, never happens. They're going to start reaching out to you about, just a couple of days after your time to opt out, because obviously they want you to have nowhere else to go. They don't want you to call Lexus and shop their pricing. And this year, I didn't even care. I told the Westlaw rep, I was like, look, I'm talking to Lexus. Well, you should know. It was a snotty little email. well, you should know that you've already missed your deadline to opt out. And I was like, you know what? I don't care. I don't care. And Lexus, by the way, they know this. Lexus had just an unreal deal. They were like, Mr. Silverman, we know they do that. So if you sign up with us when they expire, we'll only charge you 10%. It was some small percentage, fractional percentage of the whole cost of Lexus while you pay and run out your Westlaw subscription. So anyway,
Interesting.
I mean, dirty company. I'm glad their stock went down 10%, right? And their lawyers are probably going to listen to the show. I'm just kidding. And they're going to try to catch me. What did he do to disparage my business? They're going to try to catch me. So
maybe this is a topic for next time, since this might be the longest show in history, but don't they do that? Like, I know we're small time, and I don't mean, I'm sure we're out there, but we don't have millions of listeners. But don't companies like Disney have ways of finding just any copyrighted information or material on anyone's podcast, on anyone's reels or TikToks? I think they have ways. So I wonder how they find that.
Yeah.
Stuff.
I mean, you can. I don't know how automated it is. I bet it's gotten a little more automated with AI. You're talking about something different. That's like a copyright issue. This would more be like, you're trying to find, libel and business disparagement cases and all that stuff.
You're right.
But yes, they do have things like that. And it's kind of, sometimes as attorneys, we go too far. It's like when I asked my friend who used to run the Astros, I was like, hey, are all these, when it's like the Astros, when there's like 100 little league baseball teams called the Astros, do they have licensing to use the Astros? And then my friend just kind of laughed and he was like, Phil, no, but we're not after that sort of thing.
You're not going to see little league team.
Which, can you imagine the negative, branding? And by the way, it helps them. Can you imagine with the case? It's like the lemonade stand. The kid's out there selling lemonade, but doesn't have the license to sell the lemonade, and the city tries to shut them down. Or, it's Girl Scout cookie season. Girls are going to start to go, oh, you need a permit to sell those Girl Scout cookies.
Well, I worried about that when we started doing it, but so far no one's come knocking on our door.
Okay, so good. Yeah, it's the same.
We'll see if we get in trouble. We got a big time operation going on.
I know. Here. I'm getting ready to buy some cookies this weekend. So, with that, let's plug Girl Scouts and Girl Scout cookie season. I love of course, I hope they still have a lot of caramel delights, and the green thin mints is what I'm really after. Those green thin mints in the freezer, like with a little bit of vanilla ice cream. That is the bee's knees. Okay.
We got 8 cases sitting right here.
Put me down for all 8. All right. I got to run. We have to run. That brings our show to a close. I've been your host, Phil Silverman. Chris Hill has been my co-host today. Like us, follow us, review us wherever you get your podcast. And as a reminder, nothing in this show is to be considered legal advice, and this has all been for entertainment purposes only. If you have a legal question, email us at info@silblawfirm.com. That's info@silblawfirm.com, and tell us you want it publicly answered in the podcast. Everybody have a great weekend.